Hi there, this video is the coffee shop application demo for ECE 496 and it is done by Wakefield and Rustin Plowright-Wills. So what is it? The coffee shop itself is a highly configurable application that allows you to run other applications within it. The main idea around this is that the PSPI project they have many applications that already exist that they use for research. Now we want to be able to run many of these applications at once and allow users to interact with them and interact with the main container. So we've developed an application that allows these new applications to be run inside of it, easily configurable to put those applications in, which you'll see in a minute. This allows users to select from many applications. It also consists of a message board, menu, and a main window. It handles HTTP requests and SMS requests as well. So how is it configurable? Well, there needs to be an easy and transparent way for developers of other applications to plug their applications into the coffee shop app. This is mainly done via an XML file that you define specific information with. So you define the specific information for your application, and the coffee shop app reads this information in and does things accordingly. That's pretty much all you need to do. It would then run as normally as you would with even if it was a standalone application. Now, this is important because we want the programmer to easily be able to plug it in without having to know the details of how the container is actually implemented. So there are a few files that you need to edit to make this configurable. So this is an example of the XML file I just mentioned. So if you were going to input the PSPI eyeballing game, which is an already existing application, you need to include this XML file. So you include the application name, the short name, which is used for kind of passing the name around through the server and naming files, the application image URL, which is the image you'll see in the menu, which you'll see in a moment, minimum idle time. This is the minimum time in seconds that the container waits that allows it to run before it checks to see if anybody is interacting with it. I'll explain this a bit more during the later parts of this demo. The application description, that's pretty much self-explanatory, as is the interaction instructions. Then there's a connection info section which defines what type of application it is, whether it's a web or a Flash application. The topic, this is the OSGI broker topic that the application should subscribe to when interacting. The display URL, this is the URL that the main application is running under. And the connector class, I'll explain a little bit more about connector in a minute. The other thing you'll need to edit is the configuration properties file. This file contains information like what applications are able to run, what applications should be configured to run. So able to run is defined and the container can run them. Configured to run are the ones that actually show up when you run the application. The default application, this is the application that runs when the system is idle. And then a bunch of connection information such as the server that it's hosted on, the OSGI broker where it's hosted, and some topic names of the default parts of the app. So what is this connector I mentioned? Well, we want to be able to allow the developer to plug their application in even if it doesn't really fit with the OSGI broker kind of way things are done. We also, if something special is defined in the application, or if we need to do something when we send and receive events prior to sending to the OSGI broker, then we could define one of these as well. The connector is basically an interface with two methods, the send event and receive event methods. Now, if your application was to do something special, you would implement a connector and define this connector in the application XML. Then the connector, whenever it sends an event, it will call this method first, go and do a bunch of things, whatever you tell it to do, and then contact the OSGI broker. And on the receive event, anytime the application receives an event from the OS broker, it also invokes the receive event method and would run the code that is defined by the programmer. Example of this is the eyeballing game. The eyeballing game actually does not interact with the OSGI broker at all. It connects via a socket. Now, since this is the case, the container app will be polling a topic on the OSGI broker to see if an interaction has happened while playing with the game. Now, since the eyeballing game doesn't interact with the OSGI broker, instead with a socket, we've defined a connector class which monitors that socket and then sends events to the OSGI broker, notifying it when there actually is interaction with the game. So this is a good example of an application that can be plugged in even if it doesn't really fit in the same scheme with the OSGI broker. Okay, so here's the large screen display of our application. So what you're seeing here is four distinct things. In the main window where you see the map, this is the currently running application window. So whatever is configured to run as the default or whatever is currently running as the selected application will be displayed here. So what you see on the right side are the applications that are currently configured to run. So you see 4 images and 4 titles for each application. Now these are the applications that are available for users to select via text or HTTP message and run in the main window. In the bottom right corner, you see the instructions for interacting with the application. This describes how to text message or how to access the selection website. Along the bottom, in the black space that you see right now, is where the message board is. So users are able to send messages to post on this space, which you'll see in a minute. And at the very top of the application, you see another black space, but that will be the space to show the application queue. So what you're seeing now is the dynamic configuration page. Instead of making everybody define XML files and redeploying the war, we decided to make a dynamic configuration page which you could do it quickly and easily. So you can drag and drop applications to and from sections. You can move applications up and down in the list of configured applications. You can pull applications that are not configured and add them to the configured list and remove from the configured list or add to the default or change the default application. Once you hit save, the changes will be reflected on the large screen, which is what we're going to see now. So as you save the application, the large display will get a message and reconfigure the page. So now you see we changed the default application to the video wall, and we swapped out one of the applications on the side as well as we ordered them. So you can see that reflected in the main window as well as the side menu. What you're seeing now is the user selection page. This allows users to select applications via HTTP. So as you see on the left side, you can click on an application that is currently configured and queue it to be run in the main window. You can also send sample messages to the message board via this form. As soon as they submit, you get a message saying whether it's successful or not, and the change will be displayed on the main screen. You can send another message and 2 will be displayed. So this is the main screen showing the changes I just did. So I queued the Bomberman application, which you can see in the top part of the screen. Once I select, and now the interactive directly application. Now the text message board message I sent is displayed along the bottom as well. It'll show in a second when I send the second application. Now the main screen changed as I queued the Bomberman application to run. The default application recognized that there was something waiting to be run and switched to that application. from the top screen. Now you just see another example of where that happens. In this case, the Bomberman application was run, but its time expired, and it was discovered that another application was set to run. So the Bomberman application was switched out with the interactive directory, and once the interactive directory application was complete, it switched out back to the main application. You can also send text messages to the message board and select applications via text message as well. So what you just saw was me sending a text message to the application, and in the form of a application message for the message board, and it was displayed along the bottom. And I also sent a text message to select the eyeballing game, which you can now see queued in the top part of the screen. So text messages can be used to interact with the menu of applications to run, the message board, and also with the application that's currently running within the window. Now, all applications that are running within the window are running as if they were deployed on their own. And this is an example of that. So on the PSPI server, we've configured this eyeballing game to run within our application. So this eyeball application is running just as if it were running a standalone on its own website. And you can interact with it, as we're doing now, with the cell phone as you normally would, even if it was running on its own. You can also choose to configure the contents of an application. So by clicking the View and Edit button, it'll bring you to this page, and you can move numbers around. You can edit the description, the topic that it's subscribed to, then even the name of the application and the image that's displayed. Once you save it, it will be reflected on the large display. You can also dynamically create new applications by selecting Create New Application and filling out the form, as I'm doing now. So I'm creating a new test application that I want to be able to run within the large screen as well. Doing all this just allows the user to create applications, edit applications, and change the state of the container dynamically instead of forcing them to shut down the application and reconfiguring the properties files and the XML files. Doing this allows you to do it quickly and on the fly versus bringing everything down and redeploying. So I just took my new application and configured it to run and saved, and as you'll see on the main screen, it will get a new configuration message, and we'll switch out the configuration change. So now you'll see my new test application displayed as the fourth application in the menu of applications to run. So that's all for the container application demo. It's worth noting that there's been much documentation written on this subject as well, in case you have any more questions. There's a user guide which kind of describes the different ways this can be interacted with, whether you're a public user, an administrator, an application programmer, who wishes to plug their application into the container. And there's also a little section for maintenance, building the app, where it's located on the SVN server, etc. There's also a technical documentation for it, which kind of describes the structure of the backend and the classes used to implement this, as well as communication protocols and things like that. So if you have any questions, please refer to those documents, and thanks for watching our demo on the Coffee Shop container application. Thanks.